We are doing the chapter Paths to Modernization in the context of Japan and China. Zaibatsu, its role in Japan's economy, one of the most interesting and famous features of the Japanese industrial structure was the dominance of a few family or financial oligarchy, a person who is a part of a small group holding power in a state. So the dramatic part played by these mighty business houses of Japan with extremely widespread interest is known as Zaibatsu. The term Zaibatsu is literally mean money clique or plutocracy. So plutocracy in elite or ruling class whose power derived from their wealth. The Zaibatsu was a financial oligarchy consisting of four major groups: Mitsui, Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, and Yasuda. These concerns played a vital role in the economic rise of Japan. The Zaibatsu had come to occupy by the later 20s of the 20th century a position in the Japanese economy of which there has been no parallel in the history of the modern times. Among the four leading Zaibatsu, the first three groups dominated finance, industry, and commerce. But the fourth group was famous primarily for its banking sphere. In fact, every one of these business houses of Zaibatsu was engaged in activities of all the four fields of finance, commerce, industry, and banking. Mitsui and Mitsubishi owned about 20% of the entire share capital of the country. During the financial crisis, when the older business house met with a failure, the Zaibatsu usually acquired their properties. The Zaibatsu gave much financial assistance to the government. In return for it, they managed to get state properties at low price and also obtained valuable contracts. So during the post-World War years, the Zaibatsu saw a marked growth in their financial and commercial interest. By 1929, Zaibatsu in Japan reached the zenith of its influence and power. It had swallowed out many of its rivals and had greatly strengthened its influence in the political sphere. Having intimate contacts with the politicians, Zaibatsu became politically so much powerful that it began to influence the policies of the governments. There was other large business concerns in Japan which were independent of the great Zaibatsu, such as Okura with large interest in trade, textile and mining, Asano in cement, heavy engineering, iron and steel and mining, Furukawa in refinery, electric plants and copper mines. But they could stand no comparison with Zaibatsu. The range of activities of Zaibatsu include mining, metals, mechanical engineering, textile, paper, glass, cement, machinery and mechanical equipment, chemical, shipping, shipbuilding, banking, insurance and domestic and foreign trade. In fact, there was no form of economic activity in which the Zaibatsu did not lay hands or hold no major shares. Factors which helped in the industrial development of Japan. So three factors: the state participation, tariffs and subsidies, and the Zaibatsus helped in astonishing industrial development of Japan. The lion's share in the economic development of Japan goes to the Zaibatsu. The government intervention in many ways also contributed to the economic uplift of the country. As far as tariff and subsidies are concerned, they were never more than a minor support to the growth of Japan economy. Only a few industries such as woolen, sugar, copper, iron and steel and dye stuffs were the gainers. Militarizations of Japan, aggressive nationalism. Japan's successful modernization and her economic progress and military development encouraged her to initiate a policy of territorial expansion after 1894. This was also prompted by the growth of Japanese population. She required the market for the good produced by her newly established industry. She began to develop an assertive foreign policy in order to take her place among the progressive nations of the world. She also began to turn herself into a military power in satisfaction of a national martial tendency of her people. Policy of territorial expansion of Japan. So these are the factors or the reason for the Japan territorial expansion. Economic urge, patriotic society, Japanese plan of conquest, plan of greater co-prosperity sphere, prestige, motive, strategic factors and military program. Economic urge. First, there was the economic urge, that is to say, the urge in Japan to acquire the control of sources of raw material in order to feed her industries and to support her fast expanding population. It was generally accepted that land utilization in Japan had reached its limit and the country was suffering from agrarian overpopulation. To relieve the state of affairs, Japan had embarked upon an intensive development of light manufacturing industries, largely for exports. In many of the essential classes, you can see, of raw material, the Japanese empire was notably deficient and was largely dependent upon imports. Manchuria, North China, and Inner Mongolia, they offered a potential source of supply of several of Japan's most pressing requirement here is the iron ore, fuel, raw cotton, and salt. To obtain control over these sources of supply and to gain freedom from dependence on foreign imports. For example, here American oil and cotton. It was clearly an inducement to the rulers of Japan to extend their authority over Manchuria, North China and Inner Mongolia. Secondly, under the stimulus of the First World War, Japan's industrial output it had increased surprisingly and her foreign trade had tripled in value between 1912 and 1923 and by later date her merchant marine was the third largest in the world. Her armament had also tripled in a decade and her navy had become the largest. Many Japanese industrialists, the bankers and merchants, they hoped that their nation could take its place in the world by peaceful means. But others, more impatient and ruthless, they believed that a large army and navy were essential. They supported the Japanese military leader who insisted that Japan would have to fight for colonies and markets and that other power would not yield without a struggle. They would not allow Japan to acquire an empire unless it was not strong enough to take and hold one. The strategic factor. The second factor was strategic. Japan's strategic geographical position in many respects was like that of the British Island. It was of vital interest to Japan that no enemy power should establish itself too firmly near her seaboards. The recovery by her old enemy, Russia, of her power in the Far East after the World War had become for Japan a matter of growing concern. The development of aircrafts and submarines had greatly increased the importance of Vladivostok as a base for attacks on her own territory. To cope with the threat from Russia, strategic requirement demanded that Japan should be able to strike at the battle lines of communication and military strong points far in the interior. Is one of the reasons to follow the policy of territorial expansion. Here you can see that it must be taken of the prestige motive, reinforced by the Japanese feeling, that is to use Japanese phrase Japan's manifest destiny, to become the guardian of the peace in Eastern Asia. The ambitions which can be traced far back in Japanese history was openly displayed in the famous Amo Declaration of 1934. In this declaration, E.G. Amo, an official spokesman of the Foreign Office of Japan, declared to keep peace and order in Far East, Japan must act single-handed and on her responsibility. It virtually amounted to the enunciations by Japan of Monroe Doctrine for East Asia. The militarists in Japan were dreaming of a Far East dominated by their country. Patriotic societies. After 1930, Japan was steep in the economic depression. Population had been increasing at nearly 1 million annually, overburdening the country's food supply. The farmers were debt-ridden and capital was concentrated into a few big families. The people blamed the government for their ills. They lost faith in responsible party government and demanded that Japan must return to the leadership of her true patriots. A new class or group known as the Young Officers group, mainly composed of young army officers, came into existence. In their aggressiveness, militancy and extremism, they had the tacit supports of some of the leaders of the army. They had the inner drive of Japanese militancy, the belief in force and the right to exercise it. They were also dazzled by the idea and method of fascism, then current in Europe, and the success fascism seemed to be growing. The young officer group in army found their civilian counterparts in the numerous patriotic societies, of which there were said to be over 100. The Black Dragon Society was probably the best known. In one variant or another, all the patriotic societies, they cherished high-bloom dreams of conquest of Japan, mission to rule Asia, certainly the whole world if and when possible. Militarist program. The militarists in Japan seriously thought of conquering China in 1927. Their program of conquest was frankly expressed in a memorandum to the emperor. It was penned by an army general, Tanaka. In his memorandum, he recommended in order to conquer China, we must first conquer Manchuria and Mongolia. In order to conquer the world, we must first conquer China. With all the source of China at our disposal, we shall press forward to the conquest of India, Asia Minor, Central Asia and even Europe. One day we shall have to fight against America. If we wish in the future to gain control over China, we must crush the United States. After the outburst of fanatical militarism, the army gained the control of the national affairs. The political parties faded out of the picture under the influence of the militant and fascist. Japan followed a more vigorous foreign policy. By 1937, Jingoism prevailed in Japan. In 1939, she joined the Berlin-Rome Axis which gave a further impetus to the program of expansion of the militarist. Under such circumstances, a global war seemed imminent. In the Second World War, Japan suffered a miserable defeat at the hands of the Allies and surrendered on 14th August 1945. Japan after World War II occupational period from 1945 to 1951. In 1945, Japan surrendered unconditionally before the USA and the Allied powers. Japan remained under the occupation of the USA till the signing of the peace treaty in 1952. General MacArthur was in complete control of administration of Japan. The emperor was only a constitutional head. MacArthur took every care not to link up with the Japanese affair with America's domestic affair. He became highly popular among the Japanese by his rational outlook and democratic administrations. The Japanese adjusted themselves to the changed circumstances and did not hesitate to submit to MacArthur's authority. MacArthur brought about the following administrative, economic, and social reforms in Japan. MacArthur effectively carried out the work of demobilization and repatriations of the Japanese forces along with disarmaments. The new constitution replaced the Meiji Constitution. All men and women of the age of 20 or over were given the right to vote in all elections. The emperor was recognized as the symbol of the state and unity of the people, deriving his power from the will of the people with whom resides sovereign power. The educational system was decentralized. It was directed to achieve individual initiative, equal educational opportunities, and educational freedom. The traditional system of education was given up in order to prevent the spread of narrow nationalistic dogmas. Education was given a broader outlook. The new system was based on American model and newly trained teachers were appointed to impart education. New subjects and new textbooks and newly trained teachers were introduced to bring the educational revolutions. Several economic reforms were introduced in the country as regard agriculture, redistributions of the land estates of absentee landlords among the tenant farmers was taken up on a large scale. The government aimed to weaken the political influence of landlords. The cartels and the combines got their death blow at the hand of the occupation government. Small independent industrial units were developed. So, in September 1951, after long negotiations among the principal powers, a treaty of peace was drafted and submitted to an international conference at San Francisco. The treaty recognized Japan as an independent, sovereign state. It had to abandon its claim upon Korea, Formosa, Pescadores, and Kuril Islands by a supplementary treaty between Japan and the USA. The latter was allowed to maintain bases in Japan for land, sea, and air forces. Re-emergence of Japan as a global economic power. The re-emergence of Japan as a great economic power after its defeat in the Second World War is called a post-war miracle. During this period of its occupation by the USA, General MacArthur brought about many reforms in the social, educational, and economic spheres. After the end of the period of occupation, the close working of government, bureaucracy, and industry, US support, and the Korean and Vietnamese war helped to strengthen Japan's economy. The 1964 Olympics held in Tokyo marked a symbolic re-emergence of Japan as a significant state in the world in much the same way the network of high-speed bullet train it started in 1964 came to represent the abilities of Japanese to use advanced technologies to produce better and cheaper machine goods. Japan had been pushing industrialization without any regards to its effects upon health and environment. Cadmium poisoning, a painful disease, and mercury poisoning in the 1960s and 70s. It respectively appeared in the industrial area. The grassroots pressures group began to demand recognition of these problems and compensations for the victims. The government then passed new regulations to check environmental pollution and to improve the conditions in industries. But from the mid-1980s, there had been considerable decline in the interest in environmental issues as Japan had already adopted strictest environmental control in the world. Now Japan, as a developed country, is using its political and technological capabilities to maintain its position as the third supreme economic power in the world.